This podcast is sponsored by BlueRoom. When lives are on the line, every second counts, every movement, every decision, every breath. That's why BlueRoom exists, the world's most advanced mixed reality training simulator, designed to put you under real pressure in real environments without the real world risk. No bulky controllers, no gimmicks, just your hands, your kit, and a level of immersion that makes you feel like you step straight into the mission. One moment you're in a cockpit of a Blackhawk, the next in the chaos of a combat zone, or the tight cabin of an aircraft, training as if it's happening right now. So with mission control, instructors have total command, dialing up the intensity, shifting conditions, or changing patient vitals at the click of a button. And with Garmin biometrics feeding live into the system, BlueRoom even responds to you, your stress, your heart rate, your physiology, so that your training adapts in real time. So it's born in Australia, trusted across 5 continents, and scalable to limitless scenarios. BlueRoom is redefining readiness for military, medical, and frontline professionals worldwide. This isn't the future of training, this is training transformed. Step inside BlueRoom. Visit blueroomxr.com and request your demo today, or head to the show notes.
You're listening to the Pre-Hospital Care podcast on the Medics Academy Network.
Welcome back to the podcast. In this blog post episode, I'm here with Dr. Will Duffin, one of my colleagues at the World Extreme Medicine podcast. World Extreme Medicine have kindly agreed to share this blog post and really just do a deep dive into some of these fantastic blogs that Will has written. The first one is Train Hard, Fight Easy, the benefits of in-situ wilderness simulation training. Will, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Owen. It was great reading back through this blog post. This was actually written in the pre-AI era. So this is my authentic voice. I wrote this all by myself.
Is authentic content creation is well, it's not to say it's not written by AI, but let's say supplemented and supported, because I think sometimes you can just add to things that way. But I'm just as a framer, actually, Will, because it is a fantastic piece, you know, talking about on-site team simulation, but really fostering that team bonding, but also doing in low stakes learning environments where to mitigate some of the high stakes situations that you find yourself in. But could I get you to speak to really why you wrote the blog?
Yeah, so I think the concept of simulation is very familiar to anyone working in the pre-hospital care space, whether you're working on ambulances or as a HEMS doctor or paramedic. That's kind of it's a standard of practice, isn't it? But it's not a standard in many other settings. And one of those settings that I work in is TV and film and expeditions, where we're providing on-site medical cover for various different projects. It involves flash teams where you get off the plane at the airport and you have to perform from day one with a group of relative strangers. And one thing, it's quite tempting to just dive into the project. You read through the medevac plan. You've got this kind of rough framework for how you would operate in the event of a medical emergency. But one thing I've really found very helpful is finding the time to actually simulate those plans, get the kit out, and do what I call kind of low fidelity, low stakes in situ simulation. This is where it's pretty simple. You take a very simple clinical scenario, you don't overcomplicate it. You create psychological safety. So the idea is everyone's able to contribute. You talk things through. You're hands-on with the kit. You know, you're trying to build that muscle memory with your kit and your procedures and protocols. And you're just almost talking through a scenario in real time as a team. And you're just learning about each other. You're building some team dynamics. There's a little bit of stress inoculation. You're battle testing your equipment, your processes. And what I always try and do, if it's possible, is an end-to-end scenario where you start with your casualty, say at point 0 in that environment, and you simulate a full medevac. So in the TV show we do out Survivor out in Fiji, we start at the beach, which is where a lot of the challenges happen, where the action happens, and we do the full patient pathway. We get them from the beach to the local health center for stabilization, and then we take them in a land ambulance up to their LZ, the helipad, and we get them in a helicopter. We actually take off in the helicopter and do a little fly around. And that's brilliant. And that's actually not that low fidelity. That's quite kit heavy, but you don't have to go quite that far to get value from this. And I just think every team should be doing this in whatever setting they are in. And it's so much inertia in this world, the TV expedition world. There's so much inertia to doing that because everyone needs downtime. Everyone's jet lagged. There's so many other things that you need to be doing. But for me, this is really, there's no higher value time that you can spend as a team, especially when you arrive in country and you're hitting the ground and you have to perform from day one.
Listen, you hit the nail on the head there, Will. And one of the things you just mentioned there is just battle testing the kit ahead of time. So battle testing the kit, understanding where it is in the kit bag when you need it. So that actually the first time you lay your hand on it isn't in an emergency, it's actually in training. But also, you're right, working out those team dynamics ahead of time so that actually you feel there is some muscle memory. You're more familiar with people's capabilities, their modality of communication, the way the team might operate, and actually just doing these dry run situations for a multitude of purposes. Actually, could I get you to speak to really, in a way, just your reflections from doing this? Because you're right, you have to sometimes drag people kicking and screaming, but it's only after the doing this low fidelity simulation do people really see the benefit of battle testing the kit. Could I get you to speak to some post reflection thoughts after you've written, because you wrote this blog a short while ago? Is there anything you've kind of reflected on since?
Oh, massively. I mean, it's noting as a team before we've done these scenarios and afterwards, there's been a real step change in how we work together. And I think you spoke there to the kind of team dynamic side of things. Because what's interesting, certainly out on Survivor where we work there, we're a truly multidisciplinary team. We have a couple of doctors. One of us is usually a HEMS doctor. I'm a GP with an interest in ED. We've got ACPs, we've got paramedics, and the heart paramedics. They're really skilled people from different backgrounds. And what's fascinating is when you do these sims is how everyone feeds in different stuff, and you get these moments of conflict. I mean, they're not. It's low stakes, and everyone's obviously selected to be a good team player, so it's kind of low level conflict, but there are these fascinating points of disagreement where people are like, oh, we don't do that in our service, or I wouldn't do that, or actually the latest guidance I've read says this, and it's great because then you can kind of unpack that and say, well, okay, well, if this happened, how would we resolve this? How do we move forwards from this? Yeah, so before we simulated, one thing I noted when we were responding to onset medical emergencies is we were just a bit sloppy. I'd because the problem with TV, everything's on camera. You can go to the post the room where they edit everything, and you can just watch everything on 20 different angles. And I mean, talk about being self-critical. It's really hard not to notice all the little things. You're like, oh, I was putting a candle in there. Look, I did one on a beach and I was trying to put a candle in. It was all over. It was a complete disaster because I got my IV kit out and I dropped half it in the sand, and I was kind of burying around in the sand to try and find my saline flush. And I just realized I just needed to be slicker. I needed to be better. And I don't think the viewers would ever see that. They don't show the detailed medical stuff. But in an effort to be slicker and better, particularly in a dynamic and uncontrolled environment like that, I think when the first medivacs I did, when I was seeing that on the cameras, and then we simmed, and I really got hands on with the kit, and I practiced, just little things like just opening the zip, getting the IV out, opening up like a book, knowing where everything was, setting everything out like a cockpit where it's in a predictable place. There's this kind of little controlled island in amongst this kind of uncontrolled chaos, and I could just focus on that task and doing that thing and doing it well, and feeling like I could really really perform on that specific task. And I've noticed that the rest of the team as well, when even though very experienced people, as I said, HEMS paramedics, some of the stuff we do for them, it's so basic. It doesn't even get their heart rate up. They're used to doing intrathoracic cardiac massage, all that stuff, all the big boy stuff. They come and do this. But what makes it more exciting, more dramatic, and more chaotic is just the nature of it being a film production and an unpredictable space. And there's it's all kind of things going on around you. And the more you can practice with that in mind, with the specific kit that you're using in that moment, so the before and after we've done all this sim, I've really noticed as a team, we're so much slicker. We look better on camera, and that is a sign that we are actually performing better, delivering better care to that patient.
Listen, absolutely, and you've nailed it there. Well, listen, you're going to hear the AI blog. It's a fantastic blog. It's a fantastic translation of that blog because everything you just said there absolutely makes sense. Will, we're going to see you next week for the second installment of your blog posts. As ever, mate, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Owen.
Imagine standing maybe at the edge of the world, perhaps on a remote volcanic island somewhere in the South Pacific. The air is thick with humidity. You can hear the jungle sounds. It's quite something. And the nearest proper hospital, it's not just down the road, it's a grueling multi-day boat journey. Then probably a flight after that.
A long way.
A very long way. Or picture yourself high up in the Himalayas, jagged peaks all around. The air is thin, really thin, biting, and proper healthcare is days, maybe even weeks away.
Yeah, completely cut off.
Exactly. Now, right there, in that moment, a serious medical emergency happens. Someone's badly injured or suddenly gets critically ill. What do you actually do? How could you possibly prepare for that? That terrifying moment when every second counts, your resources are, well, incredibly limited and all the usual safety nets just aren't there.
It's a daunting prospect.
It really is.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving deep into a practice that's absolutely critical for operating in these kinds of extreme, unpredictable places. But it's something often overlooked maybe in our everyday thinking. We're talking about in-situ wilderness simulation training. Now, this isn't about just, memorizing textbooks or practicing skills in a nice, clean, perfectly equipped clinic. This is about rehearsing for the truly unexpected in the exact, often messy, real-world conditions where it might actually happen, far, far away from any backup.
Right, in the field itself.
Our mission, really, in this deep dive is to unpack why this specific kind of training is not just helpful, but utterly vital. And it's not just for the amazing medical pros who work in these extreme environments, but maybe for anyone who relies on, quick thinking, solid teamwork, and gear that absolutely has to work under pressure.
Yeah, the principles are broader, definitely.
We're going to explore how the lessons from these really high-stakes situations can actually impact our own readiness, whatever our personal extreme environment might look like. We're drawing our insights today from a really fascinating article by Dr. Will Duffin. He's Joint Medical Director and a GP with World Extreme Medicine. The article is called Train Hard, Fight Easy: The Benefits of In-Situ Wilderness Simulation Training. And it's just packed with real-world experience. Very compelling stuff.
It really is.
Okay, so let's get into this. Dr. Duffin's experiences, honestly, they read like something out of an adventure novel. They really highlight the incredible, almost unimaginable demands on medics out there.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, is how the article shifts focus. It moves beyond just describing, the what of extreme medicine, the exotic places, or the dramatic injuries, and gets right into the how.
Right, the practicalities.
Exactly. Specifically, how do these professionals actually prepare for these high-stakes, low-resource situations? And the article makes it really clear. Simulation, done the right way, isn't just a nice idea. It's the absolute cornerstone. It's the key to being ready and ultimately to saving lives. It's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Proactive preparation. I like that. And when we talk about extreme environments, Dr. Duffin's own background, wow, it paints such a picture of how diverse and unpredictable that world is. The article calls him a jobbing Devon-based GP, educator, and adventure addict.
Yeah.
That phrase alone tells you he's not exactly your standard clinic-bound doctor right there. This is someone who seems to thrive on challenge, applying his medical skills in the most, unconventional, demanding settings. Often beautiful, sure, but hostile too.
Precisely. His career isn't just one thing, one specialty, or one place. It's really a testament to extreme adaptability. I mean, think about the range of jobs he's done. Providing medical cover for commercial high-altitude treks, we're talking the Himalayas, the Andes, oxygen-deprived, every step counts, huge pressure.
Unbelievable environments.
Then he's been on a luxury Trans-Siberian private train, which sounds maybe glamorous, but still presents unique challenges, right? Delivering healthcare on the move across vast, isolated areas, often far from any fixed hospital.
Yeah, remote in a different way.
Completely. Then there's the reality TV show work in the South Pacific. We'll definitely get more into that. It's a great case study. And even working with UNICEF in, underserved parts of Myanmar, dealing with public health issues and really limited infrastructure.
Yeah.
This incredible range just paints a vivid picture. He doesn't just need niche knowledge. He needs to be universally adaptable, a master of switching gears between wildly different challenges.
It's truly astounding, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. One person needing to be ready for such different scenarios.
Yeah.
1 month, it's altitude sickness and freezing cold. The next, it's tropical diseases and sweltering heat. That may be, I don't know, a major incident on a moving train.
Yeah.
It really drives home that in these fields, maybe your most vital skill isn't specializing in one thing. It's cultivating this foundational, really adaptable skill set, being able to respond to anything, anywhere, with whatever you've got.
That's it.
It's not about being an expert in just one type of medicine. It's being a master of, well, improvisation, quick assessment, broad diagnostics, problem solving, all under intense pressure.
That's absolutely right. It forces a real shift in thinking. Instead of drilling down into one narrow specialty, the focus has to be on robust generalist skills, a deep understanding of how the body reacts under stress, and the ability to work effectively, innovatively, with limited kit, no matter the environment. This broad application, this ability to adapt quickly across contexts, that's really core to extreme medicine. Dr. Duffin's career is a perfect example.
Okay, and to really underline that point about unpredictability, let's look at that specific kind of wild case study from the article. Dr. Duffin's work on Survivor.
Yes.
This wasn't just, a few contestants. He and Dr. Joe Rowles, plus a whole medical team, provided the on-site emergency and primary care for seasons 45 and 46, deep in the remote South Pacific. And here's where it gets really interesting. I mean, imagine running a medical service for that kind of operation miles from anywhere while a TV show's being filmed.
Yeah. No pressure.
Right. It really hammers home how unpredictable these places can be.
Indeed. And the sheer scale and complexity are worth thinking about. They were caring for, up to 500 people at times?
500.
Yeah. Local crew, international crew, villagers from nearby, maybe the odd backpacker wandering through, and of course the contestants. It's not just a few adventurers. It's basically running a small pop-up community with all its health needs in a very remote spot.
Wow.
Required a full spectrum of care, from minor cuts and bruises right up to critical, life-threatening emergencies, often with resources that would make a regular hospital doctor's eyes water.
And the types of cases they saw.
Yeah.
It's genuinely fascinating and honestly pretty alarming. It paints a stark picture. The article lists things that would make any GP pause, let alone one working out there. Severe infections like gangrene, pneumonia.
Nasty stuff.
Yeah. Then exotic things like Cicotera poisoning that's from contaminated reef fish, right? Causes awful neurological symptoms.
That's the one. Nasty neurological GI, cardiovascular issues,
Plus decompression sickness, the bends, kidney stones, and even, get this, actual shark bites.
Shark bites.
Yeah. These are definitely not your typical coughs and colds from a Devon clinic. These are severe, often life-threatening things needing immediate expert help.
Absolutely not. And this startling mix of cases, it really shows why standard medical training just isn't enough for these roles. You've got a blend of wilderness trauma, tropical diseases needing specialist knowledge, and complex emergencies demanding immediate on-site expertise. There's no quick transfer to a fully equipped hospital.
Right. You are the hospital.
Exactly. In a normal setting, these cases would see multiple specialists, a surgeon, infectious disease expert, intensivist, maybe a hyperbaric doc for the bends. But out there, the medical team is all of that. Their skills have to be incredibly broad, diagnostic, sharp, ready for absolutely anything. It perfectly sets the stage for why this specialized in-situ preparation isn't just critical, it's the defining factor in whether they can actually provide effective care.
It paints a very vivid, almost terrifying picture of the demands. But the article also points out something quite interesting, maybe counterintuitive. Despite these intense situations, there's often plenty of downtime, apparently.
Yeah.
And Dr. Duffin stresses how crucial it is to use these quieter moments to train as a team and keep our skills sharp. So it's not just about reacting, it's about being proactively ready.
That's a really crucial point, and it touches on something very human. This idea of using downtime strategically, it's fundamental to preparedness, not just in extreme medicine, but any high-performance field, really. It's just so easy for important but, non-urgent things like training to slide. Especially if a team's tired or feels the immediate crisis is over.
Yeah, you just want to rest.
Exactly. There's a natural pull towards rest or catching up on admin rather than what feels like extra work. But if you neglect that proactive skill maintenance, then when the next emergency inevitably hits, the team might not be quite as sharp or coordinated or confident. The article says it's an easy thing to fall by the wayside. And that's a sharp observation, I think, about how immediate comfort can undermine long-term readiness.
And the risks are huge.
Oh, absolutely. Skills get rusty, subtle communication issues creep in, maybe equipment problems go unnoticed, only to surface during a real high-stakes event where there are no do-overs.
Okay, so if this downtime training is so vital, and the stakes are obviously sky high, let's really unpack what in-situ wilderness simulation training actually is. Dr. Duffin describes it quite simply. Finding a quiet moment in the day, coming up with a few scenarios, and exploding the kit bags in search of some useful learning.
Exploding the kit bags. I love that phrase.
Me too. It sounds almost casual, but there's a lot packed into that, isn't there?
There really is. Let's break it down. Finding a quiet moment, that's key. It suggests it's not some massive pre-planned off-site thing. It's flexible, organic, fits into the daily rhythm, recognizing how unpredictable these environments are. The training adapts to the reality.
Right. Not the other way around.
Then coming up with a few scenarios, that speaks to adaptability, resourcefulness. You don't need a Hollywood production. Simple, relevant scenarios based on local risks, a snake bite, a fall, sudden illness, are often more effective because they test the process of responding.
And the teamwork, the communication.
Exactly. And finally, exploding the kit bags. It's such a great visual. It means hands-on, realistic engagement with the actual tools they'd use. Not just talking about them, but getting them out, maybe finding out what's missing or doesn't work, getting your hands dirty.
But, okay, despite the clear benefits and how simple it sounds in that definition, Dr. Duffin does note it can be hard to line up the rotas and steward the energy within a group to get a sim up and running, and he says it's an easy thing to fall by the wayside. This brings up a big question, doesn't it? If it's so vital, why is it often neglected? The article touches on that very human thing, prioritizing immediate demands over long-term readiness. Something we probably all struggle with sometimes.
Oh, definitely. And there are layers to why it's tough. Group dynamics, for one. Getting everyone motivated after a long, draining day, that's hard, even if they know it's important. Fatigue is huge in these settings, often underestimated. Working hours can be brutal, unpredictable. It just saps your energy physically and mentally.
Yeah, you just want to switch off.
And there's that perceived lack of immediate urgency. If no one's actively bleeding or dying right now, it's easy to push training aside for rest or emails or whatever. Plus logistical hurdles, even for simple stuff, finding a space, getting the right people together, general inertia.
It's like, how often do we put off prepping our own emergency kit at home or practicing a fire drill? Same principle, maybe. Important, but not urgent right now.
Exactly the same principle, just with potentially much higher stakes in Dr. Duffin's world. The risk of neglect is profound. It directly impacts outcomes. Which really brings us back to that question. If it's so vital, why is it often neglected? It's that human tendency, isn't it? Immediate demands versus long-term readiness.
It's a constant battle. But Dr. Duffin goes on to lay out 3 really solid benefits of this simulation training, reasons why it's worth fighting those challenges. The first one, there's good evidence that simulation improves our ability to manage emergencies. He mentions Rissler's 2010 study, saying it's likely to have a direct and positive effect on the quality of care we're giving.
Right, and this is the foundation. It's evidence-based. The why behind it is rooted in cognitive psychology, how we learn skills under pressure. Practicing repeatedly in a simulated setting lets you work through complex decisions, but crucially, without the real-world consequences.
Safe place to fail.
Exactly. It builds what psychologists call automaticity. Actions and decisions become almost second nature. They shift from conscious, effortful thought to rapid, almost unconscious response. This massively reduces cognitive load during a real crisis.
Right, frees up brain space.
Precisely. Your brain isn't bogged down remembering basic steps. It's free to focus on the novel, tricky parts of the emergency. It sharpens recall, refines problem solving under stress, makes you better at adapting. And citing Rissler is important. It shows this isn't just theory. Simulation has a measurable positive impact on actual patient outcomes. Better, faster, more effective care. It builds competence and confidence through safe repetition.
That makes total sense. Practice reduces that mental burden when things get real, allows you to focus. Okay, the second benefit Dr. Duffin highlights is how simulation helps you to bond as a team. It helps you to understand each other's unique skill sets, communication styles, and ways of working. He adds, it can be an incredibly rich skill share where ED docs learn from HEMS paramedics and vice versa. So what does this all mean? It means you're not just honing individual skills, you're actually forging a stronger unit, right? A cohesive team. which must be absolutely vital when you're isolated and lives are on the line.
Absolutely vital. Shared stress, even simulated stress, is a powerful team builder. Navigating a tough scenario together, especially one mimicking life or death, builds incredible trust and understanding. You learn who's good at what, who stays calm, how people communicate under pressure.
You learn to rely on each other.
Totally. And it's this amazing opportunity for skill sharing. Think about an emergency department doctor versus a helicopter paramedic HEMS. An ED doc is brilliant at in-hospital stabilization, complex diagnostics, managing things in a resource-rich setting. A HEMS paramedic excels at rapid assessment, getting people out of tight spots, critical care before the hospital, often in really rough conditions.
Very different skill sets, but complementary.
Exactly. So in a wilderness simulation, maybe the ED doc learns practical extrication techniques from the paramedic, or how to improvise splints with minimal gear, adapting their high-tech knowledge to a low-tech reality.
Yeah, stuff you wouldn't learn in a hospital.
And conversely, the HEMS paramedic might gain deeper insight from the ED doc about subtle diagnostic signs, or how certain pre-hospital treatments affect later care. This cross-pollination is invaluable. It broadens everyone's perspective, makes the whole team more resilient, more adaptable, more innovative.
They learn each other's language almost.
Yes. Communication shortcuts, nonverbal cues, crucial when it's noisy or chaotic. It builds the shared understanding, mutual respect. A high-performing unit that can almost read each other's minds when time is critical.
That's incredible, creating this unified expertise. Okay, then the third benefit, and this one feels very practical, maybe even surprising, the battle test of your equipment and processes.
Yes, the reality check.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Duffin says talking things through is one thing, but it's only when you actually explode your kit on the floor that you discover that certain connectors aren't compatible, that your IV bag doesn't have any flushes or sharp spins, or that your patient monitor is completely out of batteries. He says a surprising number of little things always emerge that can be ironed out before a real event when those little things become big things.
This is so, so important. The mental checklist, no matter how good, often misses the physical reality. You think you're ready, the list is ticked off, but until you physically unpack and try to use the gear in a scenario, critical flaws stay hidden, waiting to bite you in a real emergency.
Like finding out your IV kit is useless because you forgot the saline flushes.
Exactly. Or needing to monitor vital signs, patients crashing and the monitor's dead, battery wasn't checked. Or maybe the oxygen regulator doesn't fit the local oxygen bottles. Or the splinting material just isn't strong enough.
These aren't just annoyances, are they? They're critical failures.
Absolutely. They cause life-threatening delays, compromised care, could mean the difference between life and death. A missing battery isn't trivial when you need that monitor. Incompatible connectors mean vital gear is just dead weight. These little things become catastrophic big things in a crisis.
And this principle surely applies everywhere, not just medicine. Like checking your home emergency kit. Have you actually tested the flashlight? Checked the food dates? Or for a work project, have you run a dry rehearsal? Or just talked about it, found the glitches?
Precisely. It's about moving from thinking you're ready to knowing you're ready because you've tested it. It exposes the hidden weak spots in your kit and your processes, how people interact with the gear before a real crisis does. This benefit alone makes simulation indispensable for anyone in high-stakes situations. Medics, mountaineers, disaster responders, anyone.
Okay, so what happens when you take this simulation idea even further? Make it more complex, more realistic. The article talks about how, because the survivor team had a helicopter, they ran simulations involving the full patient pathway.
Yes, the whole journey.
Right. Practicing everything from initial assessment and management of really complex stuff like polytrauma, multiple severe injuries, or heat stroke all the way through, packaging the casualty, getting them ready, coordinating the helicopter evacuation. That's a massive step up, isn't it? Testing the whole chain.
It really is, and it's incredibly valuable. This full pathway approach is crucial because it tests the entire chain of care, not just one isolated skill. In remote medicine, care often spans hours, maybe days, involves multiple handovers.
So many potential points of failure.
Exactly. This tests the logistics ground team to air team, maybe then to a receiving hospital. It highlights the need for seamless handovers, consistent information flow, clear communication throughout a potentially long, complex operation. It's not just what you do at the scene, it's how that patient gets from point A, injury, to point B, definitive care, and all the moving parts involved.
And these bigger exercises force them to consider all sorts of what-ifs you might not think about otherwise, like managing vomiting or agitation in the helicopter, a cramped, noisy, vibrating space, or even attempting full cardiac arrest management, including defibrillation, in the air. That sounds incredibly difficult.
It is incredibly difficult, which is precisely why simulating it is so vital. The helicopter environment adds huge challenges. The noise makes talking almost impossible. You rely on signals, intercoms. The vibration interferes with delicate tasks, shakes things loose.
Things could go wrong very easily.
Very easily. Limited space restricts movement. CPR is hard. Managing airways is tricky. Accessing the patient is tough. Poor lighting, the psychological stress on everyone. Claustrophobia, fear. These simulations train the team for those specific extra layers of difficulty.
Did they learn how to cope?
Yeah, they learn to secure gear, communicate over noise, manage patient needs in that confined space, and crucially, how to improvise life-saving actions when all the usual advantages are gone.
It's clear these simulations become about much more than just the direct medical side. The article mentions they also force teams to think about comms protocols, how to alert local hospitals, which might be basic facilities themselves, and who deals with insurance, or informs the rest of the expedition team.
Right. It expands the scope hugely.
It moves beyond purely clinical skills into logistics, admin, stuff that's just as critical.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really shows that even in extreme medicine, the system is just as vital as individual skill. These simulations expose weak points in the entire operational chain.
Not just the medicine.
Not just the medicine. A perfect intervention at the scene is useless if you can't evacuate the patient efficiently because communication failed, or if the receiving hospital doesn't get the right info. And the admin side, insurance, logistics, team coordination, that's essential for continuity, avoiding delays, overall success. Simulations force this holistic view, testing every link in the chain from injury to recovery. It's way beyond just the bedside care.
And on a more sort of personal psychological level, Dr. Duffin shares a really interesting point. He says he's a fan of physically getting out and handling the specific kit you will use without necessarily opening the packaging, as it builds muscle memory and familiarity that grants you cognitive ease in the real thing.
Cognitive ease, that's a great concept. It's fascinating and really powerful. It taps into how our brains work under stress.
How so?
Well, the idea is that familiar tasks, things you've rehearsed, require much less mental effort. Just handling the kit, feeling its weight, how it fits in your hand, mentally walking through using it, maybe practicing putting on gloves or assembling something, builds not just muscle memory, but this deep physical familiarity.
It becomes automatic.
Almost. When a real emergency hits, stress is high, you don't have to consciously think about how to open that package or connect that tube. It's become intuitive, fast, effortless, what psychologists sometimes call System 1 thinking.
Which, crucially, frees up your brain for the hard stuff.
Exactly. Instead of using precious mental energy on basic steps, your mind is free for the complex problem solving, the subtle diagnosis, the critical decisions that define an emergency. It drastically cuts cognitive load, reduces stress, improves efficiency, lowers error risk. Huge impact when seconds count. It's like fumbling for a light switch in the dark versus just knowing where it is. Simple act, big psychological benefit.
Turning potential overload into clear thinking. That's powerful. Okay, so we know what in-situ simulation is, why it's so beneficial, how it affects teams and individuals. But what's the actual recipe for success? How do you run these effectively, especially when resources are tight? Dr. Duffin offers some really practical tips. He says a key ingredient is avoiding the tendency to overcomplicate the clinical scenario. He argues the scenario is not really the endpoint, but more of a vehicle to explore and test your processes around it.
Yeah, this is a brilliant, slightly counterintuitive point. People often think simulations need to be super complex, really dramatic, full of rare conditions to be good. But he's saying, no, often the opposite is true.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, focused. The goal isn't to create the hardest medical puzzle. The scenario may be just a sprained ankle, a mild allergic reaction is just a framework. a catalyst to let the team practice communication, test equipment deployment, refine decision-making under pressure, find those system weaknesses. Simplicity often works better because it keeps the focus on the underlying operations and teamwork, which are usually the real weak points anyway.
Right. You're testing the system in the process, not just someone's knowledge of a rare disease.
Precisely. How will we handle this as a team with this kit in this environment?
That's a great distinction. He also really stresses the need for a high degree of psychological safety, saying simulation seems to work best when presented as a low-stakes learning exercise within an environment where everyone's contributions are welcomed.
This cannot be stressed enough. Psychological safety is the bedrock of effective learning, especially when mistakes feel risky. If people worry about being blamed or ridiculed for errors during a sim, they'll clam up.
They won't take risks, won't ask questions. Exactly. They won't try new things, might hide mistakes, which completely defeats the purpose. A simulation is for finding weaknesses and learning. In a psychologically safe space, errors become learning opportunities. Everyone feels okay speaking up, suggesting ideas, critiquing processes, even admitting they're unsure without fear.
That applies everywhere, doesn't it? Work teams, families.
Absolutely. Fostering psychological safety is key to improvement anywhere. It ensures everyone's invested in learning together, not just worried about their individual performance.
Creating that safe space to fail so you learn without real consequences, nurturing growth. And practically, he repeats that it doesn't have to be super high fidelity. Work with what you've got. Don't let the stress of planning something overly elaborate get in the way of getting your first sim over the line.
Yeah, this tackles a common myth that stops people starting. The idea you need expensive mannequins, fancy tech, professional actors. He's saying, nope. Improvise scenarios using what's available, a volunteer patient, a backpack for an injury, maybe some fake blood can be incredibly effective.
Focus on the process, not the props.
Exactly. Focus on communication, teamwork, process. Hyperrealism often costs a lot and adds logistical headaches. The stress of planning something too elaborate can become a barrier itself. The best simulation is the one that actually happens, even if it's simple.
Right. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, especially when the stakes are high. And finally, the final key ingredient he mentions, absolutely crucial. Taking the time to debrief afterwards. Talk through how things went in a non-threatening way and then actually use those insights to improve.
The debrief. Honestly, it's where the magic happens. It's the critical feedback loop. A simulation without a good debrief, mostly a wasted opportunity. This is where the real learning solidifies.
And that non-threatening part is key again.
Absolutely. Reinforces psychological safety. It's not about blame. It's about analyzing actions, processes, outcomes together. What went well? What could be better? And crucially, why? This uncovers not just individual slips, but systemic issues.
And then you actually do something with it.
That's the final step. Translate insights into concrete improvements. Revise a protocol, repack a kit bag, create a checklist, target specific training needs. It closes the loop. Lessons learned in the sim lead directly to better real-world performance next time. Continuous improvement in action.
This whole philosophy, preparedness, learning through simulation, it's clearly baked into the entire field of extreme medicine. The article says at World Extreme Medicine, all our courses are built around casualty simulations. And their big expedition and wilderness courses even include a full multi-casualty search and rescue exercise. A SAR exercise. Apparently, it's always really popular.
Yeah, that shows how central simulation is to the discipline. It's not just an add-on, it's core pedagogy. And World Extreme Medicine takes it further hands-on outdoor scenarios, teaching packaging and transport with litters over rough ground combined with rope skills.
Wow, getting really practical.
Totally. Moving way beyond the classroom into the actual conditions students will face. It shows that effective training here isn't just about clinical skills. It has to cover the huge logistical, physical, technical challenges too. A truly holistic approach to care in adversity.
It paints a picture of really comprehensive, really practical, demanding training. And looking at the scope of World Extreme Medicine's offerings, it's incredible how varied extreme medicine actually is. Courses listed include expedition and wilderness, humanitarian and disaster, mountain, ocean, polar and winter, even space medicine, tropical and hot medicine, wilderness first aid.
It's a vast field, and this raises an important point, doesn't it? While we focused a lot on wilderness today, those core principles, preparedness, adaptability, simulation training, they're clearly universal across all these incredibly different, challenging environments.
Right. Same principles, different hazards.
Yeah. Exactly. Mountain medicine. Altitude, cold, trauma. Ocean, drowning, marine injuries, long evacuations. Polar, extreme cold, isolation. Space, microgravity, radiation, unique physiology. Humanitarian and disaster, mass casualties, scarce resources, security issues. Tropical, venomous things, diseases, heat.
Each one unique.
Completely unique challenges. But in every single one, the need to anticipate, practice, refine your approach with limited resources under pressure, that remains absolutely constant. The specific dangers change, but the fundamental method preparation through simulation holds true everywhere, from the deep sea to outer space.
That's a really profound thought. The principles transcend the specific setting. So while we've dived deep into medical simulation in extreme places, the core lessons feel incredibly relevant to, well, all of us. It's not just about medics. It's about proactive testing, building strong teams you trust, finding vulnerabilities before they cause disaster, and constantly learning through honest feedback, being prepared for your extreme, whatever that looks like.
Well said.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? Next time you're getting ready for something critical, could be a big project at work, a family trip, a new challenge, even just prepping your home for a storm or power cut. Think about not just what you'll do, but how you've practiced it. Have you, metaphorically exploded your kit bag, laid out your plans, your resources, walked through potential problems? Have you tried to find those little things, the forgotten item, the faulty assumption, the communication gap, before they become big things and trip you up in your own life or work?
Yeah.
Because true preparedness, maybe it isn't just knowing what to do. Maybe it's doing what, practicing it, refining it, until it really becomes second nature.
You're listening to the Pre-Hospital Care podcast on the Medics Academy Network.